me say this part. They'll hear this last end part. Good
All right.
morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. Thank you all for joining this show. Before I get distracted and don't say, Carmen was first. Thank you for being first always, Carmen. I love you. Um, Today, we have a plan to have a panel with another member, though this member may not be able to join due to technology. Technology's been acting really, really strange lately. Though, if you also don't have any experience with the software that we use to do this, it can be kind of difficult to join me on my show. So, this other individual may join. His name is Bruce. I look forward to if he does come. We also have returning guests. I'm so happy to have both of you here. We have Guardian of Orion. People have been asking how to find Guardian. He's under Jay Zoltan in YouTube now, and so you can actually find him still if you search Guardian of Orion, because there's so much content under that name. However, it's a different name. There's been a lot of inquiries about that, so I wanted to make sure I point. And then after we're done with this, I will link both Yolanda Marie and Guardian's channel to the description of this video, so that way you can just click and go there. And then we also have Yolanda Marie coming back to us. Oh, there we go. I see Guardian posted
There he
that there.
is.
Here, I'm going to pull that up as a comment. So this is at Jay Zoltan. That's how you can find him. He has a lot of awesome content and does his own live stuff too. And Yolanda Marie, welcome back. Thank you for coming. She was having some amazing comments just before we came on, that I kept wanting to just go live so we can make sure we talk about this live. We were talking about a lot of, oh, hey, thank you, Guardian. I'm going to post this. Here's the
Oh,
link for
all
Yolanda
right.
Marie's YouTube channel.
Thank you.
She also has quite a following on Facebook as well. So, yeah, welcome everybody.
Wait,
Do you want to talk about what we were talking about before we started?
the shift and the swelling and the itching and the which part?
All the fact that our bodies are, so this ascension symptom thing that Guardian was talking about, his left eye. I am having stuff with my left eye too.
Mine
And
just came in too.
go ahead.
As you were saying that, as soon as you said left eye, and I was waiting for them, but I wasn't tuned in because I was too busy sweating and schwitzing, like what we were talking about a second ago. We'll get into that. But Guardian, what do you think about what comes to you with the word lymphatic? I know we've been talking a lot about the lymphatic system for what, couple years now, probably. Sorry, 2-3 years, I guess. But it just occurs to me, yeah, you still have the lymph nodes, small ones. They're all over, but there's a drainage, like a lymph drainage to the eyes as well. And what Pamela's talking about, you guys, Guardian was talking about the itchy eyes, and I had an itchy eye situation that I thought was, a girl thing. We won't get into it. Anyway, we won't get into that. Or menopausal for those of you ladies, who are either way over 40 or like me. And this is a lot of information, but it's good for you guys to know. Even if you're men, it's good for men to know as well, because you are going to live around women and to understand women, but a more poignant part of this, why are you giving me the word poignant, is that the frequency of it is going to affect you. So the quantum information involved with the woman who no longer has a womb or has their womb is done with the job, okay, and the hormones have shifted, there's a frequency there as well. This all involves frequency. It's quantum information. As the masculine, wow, it's a lot coming in. So as the masculine is shifting out of shame, involving the treatment of women, regarding childbirth, regarding menstruation, regarding things that involve feminine changes. Wow, this was unexpected. This information that's coming in involving the shift in the womb is also extremely relevant to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Lymph. And so that was a weird piggyback from the lymph, wasn't it? So then also the lymph nodes are having another shift. Okay, so we'll see if some more information comes in there. And that
This
could be
pairs
positive.
along exactly with what I've been getting about. So what we're doing is womb healing in a spiritual sense. So male or female in form now, we go back through, it's as if you're coming from your third eye, and in meditation, you're visualizing being small enough to go into the portal of your belly button. And then you're in your own body. And this is a womb space that has a corridor that connects to the next womb space and the next and the next, like your grandma ma and her grandma, and so whatever, all the mothers in the line are spooning almost.
Yeah.
And this womb healing is the line that's being done right now, and typically it's the hijacking of the mother line only goes back about 200 years. It's around the Depression era. Something
Hmm.
happened, brain memory wipe and new something like that. Some kind of brainwashing happened. And
Okay.
this is the healing that you're talking about that I've been guiding people to do for probably 3 weeks now. Like,
Amazing. Amazing synchronicity. But I don't know why I'm continuously shocked but not shocked. But yeah, that's amazing. And then as that was coming in, it's like that was just the latest in a long line of defamations on
yes,
defamation of character. Yeah, not necessarily character, but my guides are funny, but defamations on just the feminine, whether it's within a male body or not, it doesn't matter. We all have masculine, feminine, so just suppression. And most of you who are joining, most people who are going to join your stream now are going to know this, but there are going to be a lot of people who see the stream after who still don't know the what's the word, the huge suppression. Okay, I had a better word trying to come in, but yeah, how big the suppression of the feminine has really been. But now, because we are correcting, I'm curious. So they're saying you don't have to be careful to overcorrect, but there may be some overcorrection. Okay, where it swings in such a way that it puts masculines who are still coming into a certain stage of that knowledge, also healing, also quantum information integrating into their field to even bring them to the state of understanding, will have a like a bounce back effect, like a, what's the word I'm looking for, you guys, like
ricochet,
say it again.
ricochet,
Yeah,
echo.
yeah, something like that. Like they're going to go totally in the other direction. Guardian, you might have a lot. I don't know if anything's coming in with you about this, but I just know from knowing you and listening to you channel and just feeling you, I know that you probably would have a lot to say about this or feel about this.
Yeah,
I
like
know.
regarding the balancing of the feminine and masculine, maybe. Yeah, like what I was always getting is that if you look throughout our history and also just like the past few decades since we were here, like we were conditioned since birth to be like to jump from one extreme point of the spectrum to the other extreme point of the spectrum. And like I've kind of seen in the past 10 years or so that like the divine feminine is like coming up, and like certain forces are like, hey, like how can we corrupt this, because we don't want that feminine energy here. Like they've been working heavy for thousands of years to destroy and like get rid of the divine feminine energies, because that's a very mystical and powerful energy that people can have. And like since all this feminine energy is like coming to the forefront, like there's nothing they can do about it. The only thing that they can do is like distort our perception of it, of like what does it mean to be feminine, what does femininity mean, and trying to like subvert it and like distort it into something. I know like people are, yeah, like a lot of how do you call it, there was this movement of like this super feminine everything, and everything
Feminist.
needs to, yeah, like
Yeah,
these
yeah.
extreme stuff. And basically all they're doing is like convert, basically they're doing the same thing that the corrupted masculine was doing, but they're like calling it something else. But
Yeah.
it's the same energy of like suppressing the other in favor of something
Mhm.
else,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which doesn't work. So
Mhm.
that's not balanced, that's not a way to go forward. So we have to
That's
find a way to like bring balance to both, and that's the way forward, basically,
yeah. Yes.
in short. But we could talk about it a lot.
On
Yeah.
both sides, on both sides. We're only just discovering what divine masculine means. It's been tainted as well, like, or whatever word you want to use. There's been something that's invaded it and over exaggerated some aspects and then underemphasized others. Like there's this thing about if a guy isn't overly active, he's lazy. He's expected to always be in motion physically. He's expected to always be the doer, the action bringer. And there is a lot of action that's done within in a place of silence. Like when I first started to get told that the divine masculine was being balanced, the symbol that the vision they kept showing me to show what. Sorry, my daughter was laughing. I'm sure she wasn't crying for a second. You
Oh
never
no.
know.
Right.
um, um, anyway, I kept seeing the symbol of a man by himself in the middle of a forest with a guitar. That's the symbol of what divine masculine looks like in its
Okay.
balanced form, they were saying back in November. And it's this inaction that is thought to be happening, but this is a place I would go to meditate. I would take a
Mhm.
drum or a guitar. This is symbols for me as well to understand. And as this balance started to occur, then there's this. I just had this big giant download, and I got to tell you guys about this part. I had a
Okay.
visitation a couple of nights ago. My daughter and I had a visitation at the same time. She
Oh
was
my
in bed
goodness.
with me. It was this whole thing. Holy cow. But the gist of it is it was talking about women, its bodies, the female body in particular. And this doesn't mean that guys don't have something cool too. This is just they're showing me something. Um, the wings that we talk about,
Mhm.
not all there are exceptions, but most of the time it's the women who have the wings. And they explained to
Oh,
me that this is why we wear the bra, why we're taught to slouch, or why we're taught to be shameful, because this is associated with the wings. And these
okay.
wings are what's causing so much like root chakra disturbance because it's actually I didn't expect to tell you guys about this. I drew this really
Good.
quick drawing when I was trying to tell somebody else about it, but
Mhm.
let's see if you can see it. Oh no.
Oh, it's not letting it
Oh,
out or through.
green screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I
Okay.
can see.
Right there.
All right. So if you can see right here, the wing is this is like the elbow of the wing down here. And then
Yeah.
up here would be like the finger. I'm delayed, so I'm trying to keep up with myself. Anyway, the top right here would be like the fingertips. And this is what all women have energetically, these wings, some men too, but for every woman has them. And it's balancing of nature. They showed me these beings. They showed me they're all things in nature have a balance. If the fact that in the human, it's thought that the masculine can overpower the feminine. It never has that. There's always a balancing, and that's the reason we have an extra rib. I went and looked it up afterward. I thought the men had the extra rib, and
There's
like,
so much coming through while you're talking about this,
go ahead,
Pamela.
please do
Because
it.
like when you, but pause, but don't stop, but just pause, because that way I can squeeze it in. So with the some men have it, some don't. Well, then if we're out of balance and we haven't understood what actual feminine and masculine balance is within a human, specifically human body, then of course the men wouldn't be able to naturally express what they could express otherwise. Some of that is also the balancing as well, because there was such an over exertion of masculine energy imposing on feminine that if they were able to express that, it would be out of balance. That's a weird thing to think about that way, because you would think, well, but everything's always balancing. Think that it's always in correction. Everything's always balancing in some way, even if it's not to a positive end.
Right.
If I hope I'm making sense. If you just think about the pendulum. So, and then the other thing that came in when you were saying, oh gosh, they just said, in terms of the masculine and feminine, they said humans. They kept saying we're just talking about humans. The Arcturians are telling me,
Yes.
and we're about to expand. Oh, that throat! Are you guys hearing that? Whew.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's so much is going. But anyway,
Guardian's
so
coughing
we're
too.
really.
Yep.
So yeah, I couldn't even hardly get it out. And I think earlier you too, Pamela. But so okay, all right. I don't want to go because I don't want you to lose where you were. But oh yeah, yeah. We're as what we think of as human. Basically, we're going to go both backward and forward at the same time. Basically, because at one point we were expressing fully in our power. We're about to do that again. We're going there again, and then some of these definitions are going to expand to be more inclusive, but not excluding the balancing aspect. Some will express more than others, but that's the reason. And then I hope we circle back to the masculine again, the divine masculine, because
Yeah.
there's a lot that wanted to come out about shame, but it might not be what people are expecting me to say or the Arcturians to say, depending on if they come through. But yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
This is really good to so Guardian isn't a very balanced. I want to bring him up. I'm sorry, Guardian. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot too much, but
Okay.
you're very balanced in your divinity, your divine masculine, divine feminine, and I perceive wings
I'm
on you.
working on it.
Well, and I perceive wings on you. And so this is something that since we're talking about this, you're an example that I see because I see energy as a lot of people know. It looks kind of like ripply, rainbowy, depending on the situation of what it's
Oh,
trying to show me. And so I see more energy around what is you than I do the actual thing. However, there's an outline of wing around Guardian. So would you like to share on this at all? Like,
Yeah, like in the recent weeks, also when I do my evening clearing and like protection work, I also see that like expanding stuff from my bag, but like tendrils of light, like expanding way beyond. I'm not sure what it is, but it's happening. I'm not
what
sure
is
what
it
it's
you do to
symbolizing.
achieve
That was
this?
probably something you were mentioning, the both of you. So.
mm.
My follow-up question, sorry I interrupted you. It was is how did you a- achieve this? Was this balancing done intentionally? Was there a way to because I would say all of us are off balance. We're either really feminine or really masculine, and to have such a balance, is this something there specific that you've done to get to this point?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like I'm not probably a unique case, but in my case, I was, in general, like my divine feminine aspect was, I wouldn't say dominant, but was pretty strong throughout my life. And in my case, I really had to like work a lot on like finding my divine masculine part because all my life I was surrounded by women. So
Okay.
also in family, friends, so people who were around me were feminine. So I didn't really have guy bros or anything. I did, or not playing with them or not doing anything. I found them very immature throughout my life, and only just recently I started to connect with other men. I guess they needed 30 years or so to mature. So
Right. That's really cool.
yeah.
I have a similar experience, and I feel like that this is common with star seeds is that we tend to, at an earlier age, befriend those who are the opposite gender more easily. Like I've only like the past couple of years started to have female friends.
Okay.
Is that something that you experienced too, Yolanda?
Well, it goes in and out for me for the most part. Oh gosh, it's so far beyond it. Okay, so there's a little bit of a story to this, but we won't get into specifics. So when I was younger, so up through even through college years, pretty much, I had it was easier for me to be friends with men, boys, more masculine people. But I think that was more, yeah, and I feel like, yeah, a lot of people are going to identify with this. I think that was more about the social construct, more so than any energetic structure. It's not that the men were necessarily more evolved. Do you know what I mean? It
Mm.
was just, socially, women were primed to be more competitive with each other because of the sort of, we won't get into all of this
The
today, but
conditioning.
depending on the culture and all of these different things, different pockets of masculinity pit females, I hate saying female, you got women, girls against each other.
Right.
Okay. Just when I was going to say the word female, immediately there was a certain vibration that in certain instances is very like demoralizing to refer to a woman as just a female, like the just her sex, her gender, right?
Mm.
So that might be strange to some people. That's not relevant for every pocket of different cultures, or every
Yeah.
different group. It's not necessarily relevant. So there you come back to the structure of words changing. We're going to shift that back, and we're shifting it back. But anyway, so all that was going on. Okay. All this societal sort of calamity was happening, the programming, right? And then you start to awaken later. And it's just for me personally, everything was off. Okay. It was not even about gender at all. For some reason, I think it was just the way that my life was set up personally for me, because then you got to also, and this might just not only be my case, but, I'm also a Black woman in America. So that's not a thing that we and people who are necessarily teaching this talk about a lot, because we're shifting all of that. There are many, many reasons that we're not going to, just pound the pavement about that as we're healing that. But that was also a big deal in terms of who I was able to be myself around, be comfortable around, what people were projecting on me, what was expected of me. And so as I learned later that about projections and not to accept other people's projection of me into my field to integrate and then become me, then that was more easily, all of it, race, gender, social class, whatever. Any compartment is maneuvered really, really easily once you figure out that other people's projections don't necessarily need to have permission to be part of your quantum makeup, part of your field, part of what you use and interpret through your information to other people. You just don't have to accept it. A lot of people don't realize that. You don't have to accept it. You can consciously, what is it? What should I tell? So you can consciously just formulate your own opinion of what you prefer self to be. You can literally write it down on a pad, like literally. This is going to
Right.
sound like very simple and crazy or whatever, but that's how powerful we are. We don't realize how simple it really is. Literally, what is it you think about yourself? First of all, that's a good thing to do, because you will find that you think things about yourself that you subconsciously didn't even realize you were thinking, and you're accepting that revolving door of that into your field and wondering why you're having the same problems. So get all of that out on paper.
Yeah.
What do you think about yourself? Once you weed out the stuff, well, that's not very positive. So the stuff that you don't find positive, that you don't prefer, well, I'm going to shift that, flip that upside down. Guardian used a good word before about the inversion. So that's part of the inversion. So correct that, right? Literally shift it, because there's no person sitting in a cloud, and that's in the planetary collective field, whether you're religious or not. There's no giant presence in a cloud judging you
Yeah.
according to social rules. So you literally can, through a heart frequency, because that is the frequency that is most clarified, neutral, and connected to source energy creation, creative energy. Write your opinions out, reinforce them daily, put them into your meditations daily. This is who I am. Anybody else's projection is not going to matter. So then
Yeah.
the more strong you get with that, and the strength just comes through practice, the more strong that gets, the less able someone else's thought form creation is able to penetrate your bubble to create your reality for you.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you for breaking that all the way down. The limitations that we are in and or exist within are our own definition. We're the guard. We're the warden. We're the prison itself.
Yeah.
And the word race is something that I've never, ever, ever. I can't resonate with that word. That word means nothing except competition. It means separatism. It takes away
Separate. Yep.
someone's up here and someone's down here and someone's whatever. It's
Yeah.
making there be separation. It's amplifying what the veil is meant to do. When I've died all those times, every time the energies that come to me wanting to know what life was like, they don't want to know the stuff I want to tell them about joy and celebration and family. They want to know what it's like to have things suck. They want to know what chronic depression's like, mourning, suffering, loss, especially,
Yeah.
and above all other things. They want to know what it's like to believe in the illusion of separation from the other and from God. That's not
Ah,
replicatable anywhere else. And we then echo it again in this more limitation, more separation, more parts or parting ways with one another, when instead we are one thriving organism, like the Amazon rainforest.
we're exactly that. We're exactly that. Well, when we find out Oh, it's so exciting. You guys, let me tell you what. The Arcturians are giddy. Okay, so let me clean that up. All right, because we know in their non-physical form, they're not going to be giddy. So let me just in my body, how their energy feels, the joy factor of their energy, right? In my human body or in any human body would feel like they're doing you would think they're doing cartwheels. Of course they're not. They're actually quite calm, okay?
Mm.
But their energy is straight up giddy because we're getting so close. When we get to the point collectively, it's like there's another bubble about to burst, like another, I'm losing words right now. That's interesting too. So someone take note. There's lots of good comments over here. I keep peeking at them too. About like the throat activation. Somebody said that earlier. Kay has a whole bunch of stuff. She's saying, hi, Maria. Yeah, there's so much going on over there, y'all. But everybody has commented, I think, on the activations. But it's like there's some kind of, you guys are going to say it better than me. You probably know what I mean. But it's like we're approaching, not apex, but like a climax almost, like a climactic point, or like
The
there's another
crescendo.
bubble about to burst.
Crescendo.
Yes.
Spirit always
But
talks
it's
in
even
music.
beyond the crescendo. It's as if it's crescendoing, right? But you know how you reach the point where you can go no further, and you're going to break through that glass into another realm. Okay. The way the Arcturians always describe this to me, and I always say I'm going to plan on teaching it, and then when I don't, so I'm not going to say that, so that way it'll actually happen, right? And there's another reason for that beyond what people understand that they've also maybe been going through. But anyway, so they've been describing it like layers. If you can see cycles, we talk about everything being in cycles, and I'm trying to make it look like a pinwheel. See how it's getting bigger? Okay, so in our case, this is just for reference, by the way. We started in this, think of us as in the middle layer, and we've been slowly making our way through the layers. It's more smooth like that, even though to us it's going to feel like a burst almost, especially those of us, and that's everybody here listening, by the way. If you made it here, it's you. You will perceive this in a way that still the majority of the planet won't perceive it. Don't let that throw you. The planet is expanding. It's just everybody's not supposed to be aware the way we are. We're here to do a job. You know, we got to get over ourselves. How come everybody doesn't feel what I feel immediately? Okay, now I know I'm being hard on myself too, guys. I'm kind of saying it jokingly. But yeah, everybody's not going to feel exactly what and how we're feeling because we have specific roles. Like, I don't want to use the word special because I know it's loaded, but there's a specialty. There you go. There's a specialty to what you came here to do that is different than someone else's specialty. There we go. I cleaned it up pretty good, right?
Yeah,
So, so yeah, and so you're probably gonna feel like a little, but because I'm feeling they're so giddy. I don't know another word to use.
yeah.
What the heck were we talking about before I went there with the
Well,
Arcturians?
we got to go here first before I forget. So you talked
Oh
about
yeah.
this thing.
Oh God.
We talked about. I was just doing this with somebody else. The same conversation you just had.
Oh
So
my God.
we start here. Okay, we start down because I'm delayed. And here's a point that needs to be healed. This line, if you guys can
Yeah.
see it.
We can kind of see it, like
Okay, there we
right
go.
there,
I'm just
right
not
there.
going to touch it. So each loop, you go up. You loop around, and you
Right.
come back to something that you've already healed. And it's like, oh, but I thought I already took care of this. Well, there's a deeper layer. And as you're doing it, you're doing the same thing that Yolanda Marie just talked about. Because this is because it's the layers. It's the more. And so before, up until recently, we've contained, our bodies have been the container or the space holder for one orb of light. And now we're becoming three. That's what they've been telling me. We're becoming three. And that's why the spiral goes up instead of down. Mass is bigger the higher up you go instead of the other way around.
Yeah. Which is
So
ironic because we'll feel lighter. So we definitely will feel lighter, but yeah, we will be so much more expanded. That makes perfect sense to me. It makes sense to my human. It checks out with, not that I didn't think it would, but I'm just saying like I'm feeling like a lot of truth in that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the pinnacle was the word, and I find that fascinating that Charmony commented pinnacle because
Oh
and that
yeah.
was the word you were looking for, because before I came on this show, I always prepare, like you do. You just kind of like getting your oneness if you can. A lot of times I'm also doing something else, like you're picking up Cheerios 5 seconds before you gotta, but whatever. Um, though, and when I connected with it, there were two things I kept over and over again. I heard someone rehearsing how to say diatomaceous earth over and over and over again. So it might have been Bruce. I don't know. But he
Oh
didn't get to join us. So if he does, by the way, if you're watching, buddy, you can still join us if you want to.
yeah.
And the
Would
other
be a
one was they were
surprise guest. Yeah.
surprise guest.
Surprise
Boom.
guest. Yes.
The other part of it was this bridge, that we are the bridge people. We're the bridge people. And they were pointing at the keystone, but we were calling it the pinnacle stone. And we were saying, just because the pinnacle stone seems to be the most important doesn't mean that it is, because we are the bridge people. All of us here on this panel now, all of us here are, if one stone was not in this bridge, the people couldn't make it their way from one side to the other. So that's why we're the bridge people. The other reason is that we are the arc people, which would imply being connected in some way to archangels. And I don't mean that as like a pompous, I'm awesome kind of way. I'm talking about the collective of these, all of us, the teachers. I don't want to be called a teacher. I feel like I'm fumbling along doing, I don't know. This is what we're doing right now because I follow whatever comes in. I am kind of airy fairy seeming to people. But we all have an important role, is the point. And this is a bridge. They keep showing me this bridge, and we are part, all of us, of this bridge. So it's just really neat. And so, Pinnacle.
And I'm listening. I actually found Bruce's while I was listening to you. He said he said he couldn't connect with you, so maybe he couldn't get your emails or something like that. So I'm
Oh,
telling him he can hop on. But I mean, there's plenty of time, of course. I just thought I would
yeah.
let you know. I found him on Facebook there.
Okay. Well, I emailed him the link. If you have the link to email him, that would be, or send to him, that would be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
I can't. I don't know him on Facebook.
Oh, he never see. I gave him your contact, but not everybody is. When I first started this, I was the worst. Like I wasn't Facebook friendly. I wasn't YouTube. I didn't know how to do stuff. I was doing it wrong, embarrassing myself. Like I don't ever expect everybody to do all this stuff flawlessly because I was I'm still terrible at stuff. It's been like 6 years. I feel like, you
Yeah.
know, ah, it's
I
all
feel
right.
I'm new to Facebook, and I didn't I got kicked off for violating community standards in 2020 because I would share memes of spiritual stuff, like, but it was like, have a great day. I never knew what the standard that was broken, and I was like, you know what?
That's
Sign from
crazy.
the universe that it's time to be off of Facebook. Um, but I was very strongly guided to rejoin because Archangel Michael said that it's about to depopulate, and people need to know where to go. And yeah, I've been kind of seeing it happen since I've been on there. I can say I have no idea what I'm doing on there. At first, anybody who wanted to be my friend, I'm like, sure, sure, sure. And then I found like a lot of people are like trying to scam. There's actually somebody pretending to be me on Facebook, scamming people. If you guys, by the way, if anybody gets a DM from me, it's not me. I don't DM. I just don't. Like, I don't. And I'm especially if I'm guided to bring you a message, I will do it for free. If I'm so that strongly guided to reach out to you, I won't ask you to send me money. I won't. So please use your discernment. There's like only a couple friends in this little group channel that's not me. So use your discernment.
Yeah. And what Pamela is talking about, you guys, and you might already know this, but it's happening to so many people on YouTube as well. So hopefully you already know if you get any message pretty much from anybody that I can think of within a wide range of people, it's usually saying something like that, saying like, I have a message for you, send me a message and I'll let you know what it is. It's not the person. It's
Yeah.
just not the person. If it's out of character, it's not the person.
Send me a
Just
picture of your palm.
or something like that.
What?
Yeah. And that's just more reflection, a mirror of the lack consciousness, a little bit, a mirror of the competition, a little bit, but mostly it's more than the competition. It's more, there's not enough. There's lack. I have to be, and they might, some of them, not all of them actually think it's deceptive. So
Mm,
to clear that up. And I'm the reason why I'm guided to make sure we stay clear about it is, and Pamela, you probably know where I'm going with this, Guardian, you probably know where I'm going with this, and a lot of you as well, is because it's easy to get pulled into a victim consciousness, like, oh, I got, taken advantage of. Not that you didn't. So it's not to make light of that, but just to get pulled into that whole heavy quantum baggage is what it is. It will weigh you. It'll pull you out of the stream you were in and pull your focus over here. It's
mm,
also more separation. And also, if you reach back into the lineage, men and women, into when they were accusing witches and all of this sort of thing, it's just like we kind of, it's easy to get pulled into this sort of like muddy, accusatory thing where we're forgetting we're the healers. So you can even bring it back to when the actual Jesus walked the earth, and a lot of the I heard most, but I'm trying to be careful here. We'll say a lot of what was expressed as what he did, said, and his life was actually has been twisted, right? Distorted, like the details, right? The history.
mm,
But what he was actually doing was the opposite of that. Like if somebody came in and did something we considered socially wrong, he saw the person, the expanded version for the person. He held it so strongly that and pull into your heart as this is being said, because many of you will resonate. You'll remember this truth. They're telling me, okay, so you'll remember this truth. But anyway, he held the correct image, we'll say correct, the image closest to God of that person, that being, whatever it was, that it was what was helping to heal them. He was able to give them space to pull themselves into the healed state. He never
yeah,
really saw them as damaged. And
yeah,
we're talking about thieves. We're talking about people who just did things that were not society, that hurt people in society.
uh-huh,
He wasn't throwing the stone. So it's really important to remember that as you're moving into your expansion. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself a healer, if you consider yourself, a reader, who are also activators and healers themselves as well. And many of the readers don't even realize that they're doing that right away when
mhm,
they get started. But the higher frequency they expand into, they realize they're activating and they're doing all these things. But you see, then there are other people who are on an awakening journey who will look at the reader and be like, oh, they're just keeping people. There's all these opinions. It's just be careful to release the judgment
yeah,
that you're gonna, once you start to really really get on a roll releasing the judgment, but yet stay where you are. So many more people, just by being in proximity to your field, begin to just start expanding. They're not feeling the judgment from you. They're not feeling put off. It's not that rebound, that reverb effect like the masculine, which I was hoping to get into a little bit as well, because it's like another bubble about to burst. And so many masculine, it's like they're becoming very very aware that they need to, we talked about this a couple years ago, Pamela, that they are about to expand into this new thing and be more comfortable with the feminine as well. But the shame of what has happened is still creeping in. Like there's a lot of sexual shame, a lot of shame around what is deemed as sexual deviancy, things like that. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And that's going to be very triggering. And I know you guys definitely understand that.
yeah,
But it definitely wants to be talked about around the masculine, not necessarily men or women, but the masculine in everybody,
right.
because that's what's had the power to exert over people to, all right, that got heavy. Um, yeah, I hope
That
that's
was
okay.
beautiful. Thank you very much for your sharing. That is a good point though. We ought to kind of address that a little bit further. Guardian, would you like to share next, or should I jump in?
Regarding throat issues. So
Regarding throat issues. Sure.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, like regarding the divine masculines, which aspect would you like me to address?
Um, The reverberation aspect that I've actually kind of been sensing too, that it's been something that's it does okay, energetically to me, I look at it, it looks kinda like a geyser getting ready to it's like a big planet zit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a
Hmm.
geyser that's not quite it's, like, stopped up on the top, and there it feels like there's gonna be so what I saw in my vision, what she was talking about, Yolanda Marie just was talking about, I've seen this little recently, and I saw, like, a bunch of ants running around, crazy. Um,
Okay.
the example was sudden freedom to do whatever you want, sometimes at first as a child in a candy store before they get the stomachache. They
Okay.
do a lot of crazy stuff. Um,
Okay.
and so the divine masculine in all of us being liberated can very much look like this. And I'm starting to see like the echo of it starting too, just like you were talking about. So I was wondering if Guardian, you're in Eastern Europe, so you also have a very, very masculine part of the planet to that you reside in as well.
Okay.
A very alcoholic part of the planet,
Oh.
the Eastern Bloc. Yeah, but in general, like over here, like in my experience, like most of men are like not very much in touch with their inner world. But yeah, like that's in general. I think it's mostly applicable to all places that we lived.
Yeah.
But yeah, like some newer generations, like what I've seen, like especially who are like younger than I am, I'm really seeing in quite a few of them of like the willingness to like progress and like do something more than our predecessors have done or do things differently than our parents' generations have because they are the ones who like recognize that okay, like this was not functioning well, like what you were living in was not good, and like we want to do something, we want to do things differently now. There's also, of course, a lot of conflict by it because like our parents' generations like live in total darkness, so and they don't understand like yeah, like what's wrong with it? Like that's the best way to be, and for us, it's no, it's not. It's not working. But yeah, like it's basically a lot of experimentation on our part, at least. Like that's what I'm seeing because like we're trying new things and there are like no templates for what we're trying to do. Maybe there were many thousands of years ago, but that's not really that applicable in this modern day age. So we
Right.
kind of have to find a balance of how to apply that higher knowledge or that more balanced experience that we had in other lifetimes in a balanced way in this lifetime somehow, while the old world is falling apart as we speak. So
Right.
it's not an easy situation, but like we have the luxury of time, sort of. So it's like a very as I'm seeing it, it's like a how do you call it, controlled demolition or something.
Yeah.
So it's like
Okay.
very things are falling apart in a strategic and well balanced way so that people can keep up with it if they want to, basically, and like do all the shifts and changes that they need to. And yeah, like, and also in general, what I've been also experiencing is that many people who have in the past could have been seen as like completely like avoiding such topics or would have never even touched anything like this. Like they are opening up to new types of information or like new ways of doing things or asking
Yeah.
her like how does this work or what else is there basically. So people are opening up to new possibilities slowly, a bit slowly, but yeah, like it's very new for them and probably also very scary for quite a few people. So
Right.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Yes.
different thing. Would you
yeah,
like Guardian, would you like to respond to Kay's question? How can we best support the masculine?
great question. I don't worry, just let me think about it.
Good question.
Yeah, like the easy answer would be I have no clue, but let me
Fair.
think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I
Well,
think like just be there for them. Like don't necessarily like try to guide them on a specific path that you think it would be best for them, but just like let them feel that they are supported in whatever they are going through, basically, and
Right.
just be there for them. So whenever they open up or when they pop, as you said, they have someone around to support them in that difficult and fragile state that they're going
Yeah.
to be
Okay.
in.
Guys need hugs too, people. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I've found to be really fascinating, at least in the culture that I've grown up in, is that a lot of women don't understand that guys also want the hug, and it has nothing to do with getting laid. I mean, eventually it does, but typically though, what they're talking about is this embrace, this comforting nature, this connecting with another soul, this merging of the heart chakras that we do when we embrace is needed by all. And like these tender things that people say, oh, that's too girly. No,
That's the
that's called
problem,
being
right?
human.
Yeah, yeah. As we move out of that, and that's what the subconscious fear is. I guess
Mhm.
that's a great thing that you said, like the word girly and sort of like, oh, I don't know, fluffy or too feminine, and it's just a misunderstanding that there's a balance of both in you anyway. But the words that came through while you guys were talking was safety. It's
Mm.
because they also need safety and they aren't necessarily made to help to feel safe younger, because of the push to be so masculine from very small. I mean, in general, obviously this is generalizing, but remember, it's everything is energy. So even if it's a few situations, but those situations outweigh, the situations where it is more balanced, well, we're all sharing a field. And up to this point, we've been generally oblivious to the fact that we share this field of information and how to maneuver it. That's big,
Right.
that's huge, right? Just the knowledge of being able to maneuver it. Um, which, by the way, they're now acknowledging and just outright trying to figure out in the field of physics, or I'm sure some other scientific fields that aren't going to come to mind, okay? Because the only science that I innately understand would be psychology. Like I have no other sciences under my belt, okay? So feel free to comment. But I do know that it's public. It's becoming public that, people who write in for peer-reviewed journals. So I'm saying all that for a reason, is because what you're doing, like the people joining this stream, what you're involved in is about to be and steadily being proven. Like you're not going to be seen as this person on the fringe. That's the point. Like you, you are going to be seen as a pioneer. Not that
Mhm.
that matters to you. It's not going to matter to this crew, but it's important to say it.
Yeah.
What you're doing is important. That is so important to say. Nobody wants to talk about it. Oh, it's too much ego. No. So we want you to know, this is the Arcturians, that you indeed are doing this job that you think you're doing. You're not imagining this. That's a huge thing. That's going to allow you to keep walking on those days when you want to stop everything. And I don't want to say that. They want to say when you want to stop everything and maybe not breathe again. I'm just going to say
Mhm.
it that way. That's why it's important for you to understand that what you're doing is real. This is reality. Everything else that we have thought has been going on has been manipulated, maneuvered in some way, whatever.
Right.
And we do need to keep repeating that, even in these spaces where we all kind of already know. We
Yeah.
do need to like remind ourselves.
We're doing it. The word belief. That was the one I've been
Yeah,
getting activated by so
belief.
much. It's like everywhere. Don't stop. But and like just
Oh,
all
heck
of
yeah.
this everywhere. Belief, belief. And then my
Were you
computer,
about
my
to sing
laptop
Don't Stop
is crazy
Believing? I'm
percent. Yeah. Yeah.
Were you?
And um
Sorry.
yeah, it came in and it's
I
like
love it.
what happened was it was a
Yeah.
2-hour window of my life where the word belief came in all of these weird ways. Um,
All right.
don't stop believing. Um, it popped the car was off and parked and no one had been in it and the radio came on just for that
Oh,
second. And I'm outside, and then like I come inside and there's another song playing on the radio in here and it has a word belief. And then I'm like, I gotta take a nap. I knew I wasn't napping, but I knew I was getting downloaded. So I went and laid
mhm.
down And just as I was coming out of it, I haven't watched a movie on my laptop forever, but I had put on The Matrix, and then I closed it and turned it off. It came on and woke me up, and it was Morpheus saying, "He's beginning to believe."
Oh my
And
gosh.
while this is all happening, they were telling me, "This is the juice that makes the thing go. It's the gas of
Mm-hmm.
all things." If you allow yourself to not believe a little bit about something, then the power of it, about this much of it, goes away. It's inaccessible for you at that moment. This will change by your ability to continue to believe and move this belief up. So it's a mechanism of slavery or in disempowerment of we've been taught by science the um the scientific method is you have to prove something before you are allowed to believe it.
Oh yeah. That was intentional, by the way. That was not a coincidence that that got flipped upside down. You must see before you believe it, right? Because the other way around means that you must have some power. Oh, and it goes even further. Not only do you have the power to interpret this and bring it to fruition that way, but you have creative power to just from scratch bloom a situation out of nothing.
Yep.
And that's well, that's what's about to, people's idea that, wow, we can shift this whole thing with that notepad. Think about the whole planet through the heart frequency with a notepad, just for a moment, in the heart frequency, of course, which it's going to be incredibly difficult for people who are not maneuvering through that to get anything done. So it's not much to worry about there.
Right.
It's shifted to quite an extent.
Yeah.
That's another story. Yeah.
It's really cool. Oh, and I would like to highlight Colin's comment. He answered the question really well as well. The masculine, like the feminine, has its unique sensitivities and fragility. The masculine needs to be reassured and that it's okay to be fragile. So I just wanted to make sure I read that before I thank you for your response, Colin.
Yeah,
And
I
for all
needed
of your responses.
yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Jordan.
needed years to learn that. So
A year, you said?
yeah,
It only took a year to figure that out?
no years.
Oh. I was like,
Well,
dang, dude.
and also the another big one was I think in 2015 or so is that I had to realize that I deserve to be loved,
No, it's
and I
big.
deserve to be happy.
Yes.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
You, it's just when I think back to that Guardian, it's like, because now it's just a thing that is. But when you think back to the first moment you realized that it was okay for you to love yourself, care about yourself, not put everybody else first in the physical, of course.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't mean that. I guess
Yes,
I should
you're
go
right.
into
Keep going. Keep going.
right, right. But yeah, no, I definitely concur. Like the way, even now in my memory, to remember the moment. Sometimes I still have to be reminded. And when I've come through another cycle of something, and it's about to be another expansion, and it's another layer of that. It's still happening, basically.
Yeah. You know what? And I can resonate with being out of balance in that I've spent most of my life in my masculine and not my feminine, like
Yeah.
100%. Like the concept of considering myself in any way is the only part that would be considered the distorted feminine, actually, is what that is. The martyr is the distorted feminine. And
Okay.
martyr can't exist any longer because we no longer live in the victim mentality. Without the victim mentality, there is no victimizer and there's no martyr. And
Mm.
so it's just us figuring out where to put our elbows in this new energy, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and that being okay with being fragile, being okay with being gentle, with being, less than, having being okay with asking someone else to assist you in some way and not
Yeah.
do it all
That's
by
a big
yourself.
one.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
until lately, I didn't own a couch. I would own futons because I wanted to be able to know I could carry my own furniture when I moved. Like, everything could be carried by me alone. And, there were times I had asked for help, and like out of the 8 people who were going to help me move, everybody decided somebody I wouldn't miss them. And so like no one came. And then from the rest of my life, I just did that. My point is to allow myself to be vulnerable, fragile, or seen as this way. Weakness, what we call weakness, is usually our most divine strength. That rawness, that pureness of just who you really are, and not having to posture anymore and look like you're tough, is something that a lot of single moms, a lot of this is an echo of this grouping the most, but I'm not being separatism here either. Like this is something everybody experiences, and this is just the echo of mine, is it's finally here now. But I rambled on and went somewhere else. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was so, I don't know. I was relating. Guardian, I don't want to cut, if you have something to say, I don't want to cut you off because I was going to just add to Pamela's ramble, but it's not a ramble, not ramble, but yeah. Do you have anything to add first?
No, like you can add to Pamela's ramble. So
You might. And I mean, honestly, I think anybody, like you're saying, anybody can relate to this too, but I almost want to move the camera. My whole house is full of, it's actually like kind of cubby like furniture because of the same reason. When I needed to move, I didn't have a big man helping me. I did have my boys, but they were a lot younger. I didn't want to put too much on my older teenager. And I was very much in shape. I had gotten myself into shape anyway, in part because of the energy and in part because of that, just really knowing I needed to be healthy at the time. And I was moving all the stuff. The only thing I got help moving was a couch that I needed to, because it had a sleeper. So if somebody was to come visit, I wanted to have the sleeper, and that was heavier than a car. I
Right.
regret bringing that couch. And my son so my older son, we put a tarp under it, you guys. I had like
Pull it.
this is so stupid too. Listen to this. So in Wisconsin, there's not even a pool. We don't even have a pool, you guys. I mean, it's like a nice yacht, whatever, but there's no pool. But I wanted more coverage on that back patio before I moved to Florida. This was years before. So I had bought this tarp. That just sat. I didn't know how to hook it up. I didn't have enough help at the time, and that's okay. And but I used that tarp, got used. That's just goes to show everything has its purpose, even when you don't know it's going to have a purpose. That couch was the only thing I couldn't move. And see, now I'm rambling, but I swear I'm almost done. But that is the way we got that couch in the door. We said, this is the tarp. I'm using this tarp. Put the couch on the tarp, turn the couch. I used one of those, I forgot the name of the company, but I had basically cubicled, like fit all of the other furniture, which is basically cubbies. I don't know if you guys can, hold on. So you see how that looks like
Yep.
shell? It's one of those old school, you might remember. It's
Yeah.
like a Kmart sort of big, it's a bigger type of cubby. And in the living room downstairs, they look like these fancy bookshelves full of books. Nope. They're these things and I just bought them white, so they matched everything. That's
Right.
it. And I was able to scoot them in some cellophane myself while
Yeah.
I could allow my kids to still be kids. I just took days to move just me, days. So I
Right.
totally relate to you on that. That was long. I'm not trying to, many of us do this stuff, and it was it was very masculine, sort of the imbalance of that, the imbalance where I didn't want to ask for help and I should have asked for help, right? A neighbor, a family member, whether or not they agreed with what I was doing, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
We can relate. So all that stuff goes on. But yeah, I hadn't heard until you said that. You're the first person that I've heard just that made me think instantly, like, yeah, I did the same thing.
It's gonna get done. I'm action girl.
Action girl.
Well, and I'm an Aries too. I'm March 27th. So I'm
Oh yeah.
I'm a Pisces, I'm a steam. I'm kind of like, because I really resonate with both sides, so I'm kind of like a puddle.
South Node
Sometimes.
and Aries here. So I want to do everything, and I'm supposed to ask community for North Node in Libra. Total. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So we can relate on that. Like yeah, I got to get out of doing everything on my own, and I'm still working on it, as can maybe be seen if you're paying attention. I never ask for help. I never ask for help.
And
I'm
now we're
getting
beginning to, though. And that's the point of this
yes.
balance is that we, as Guardian talked about being emphasized in the divine feminine, being that he was around women and like you have a daughter and a wife now too. So there's like
Yeah.
still it's the feminine that's in your experience and
We have
are-
two female dogs too
Oh,
around the house. And I have my cat, like he's male, but he's castrated, so that doesn't count as much,
doesn't
oh,
right?
count.
oh my goodness. Oh, that's the funniest thing. Phew.
But yeah, like
Oh,
I also had to learn through many years of like asking people for help and like realizing that we can do a lot more together. Because I was all throughout my life, I was also that, and this mentality that if you needed something done, then I'm going to be one doing it alone, and I can only count on myself and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it took me quite a lot of years to realize that, hey, like actually you can ask people to assist you with this and that, and things go a lot smoother and quicker that way.
Yeah.
yeah. And we're learning to be in a balanced place now. Like we're learning to do community. They said that community, the word came from a communication in unity. And so
Sounds
that's
cool.
what community is. Community is communication and unity. And I was like, "Oh yeah." By the way, Cookie, we are live right now. It's called a restream service, but we are live. Just so yeah, we are. If you have comments or questions, um, then you're welcome to put them up here. And if we have something that can be answered, we'll answer your question. Um, there is a comment that I was going to highlight that I for. Oh yeah. Um, so as we understand the energy that we're keeping and that there's two parts of it and that instead of saying one side is more important than the other, what spirit showed me was that it's more like a very gentle moving pendulum, not the extremes, but
Okay.
a conversation between divine feminine and divine masculine in self. And this is being echoed through in a 3D way with the genders and stuff like that for a while to try to show this attempt as a collective species to find this balance and this conversation that always is being had, this gentle sway. And as we do this, as we find more of okayness in doing something that would be considered a sissy thing to do or something when it's just being you allowing yourself to do that thing or if you're it's too boyish, those are the words I was always told, like I liked the ball cap, ponytail ball cap in a tree with a notebook. That's how I spent my childhood, and like drawing people as they walked below me. And like I would say that that's also a feminine thing to do. That's not masculine. Those things that I was doing that was declared as being masculine. And so allowing ourselves to just do what feels most natural, you know, all of you are service to others. You're not here to hurt anyone, so you can trust what it is that you want to do is going to be a good thing. And as we do this more and more, we start to find that we're actually resonating within the mission that we've come here to do. And then it comes out on autopilot, naturally, organically, and free play. It comes out like play. So that was a bit of a. I'm excited that we're here. Can you guys feel the difference in today? By the way, I'm curious. Today feels different to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's
not as
well,
heavy.
Yes.
yes, I agree. I
But yeah,
feel
like the
like
beginning of the week and also the weekend was a bit. I was waking up each morning like a truck ran over my head. No, it's more okay.
Yeah.
I just have swollen eyes when I wake up, so we're making progress.
no, I agree. This weekend was a little bit rough. I mean, I forgot actually that we were leading into this full moon, which doesn't have to be a big deal, in terms of how you feel it. It's really, it depends on your makeup when you came in. Everybody's different. If you're tuned in to understanding the moon cycles, you may feel it more. You
Mhm.
know, you could feel it whether or not you're tuned in. If you just come in and your body is attuned to it, whether you, so it's all different. It's all different. It's not just one thing. So yeah, I was, because I'd been tuning in a little bit more over the past 3 years, just in general to the cycles, reporting around that time so that people can use the energy a certain way. um yeah, I was feeling it, and I didn't know what, I was like, what is happening? So it's a combination of that, I think. And then also like with Guardian, what you were talking about too, with the new like stuff going on, and it could just be, you could say, oh, this is just allergies, you know. Well, yes, but it's like 2.0, you know what I
Right.
mean, where it might where it might have been an allergic reaction 5 years ago, this way it's now, because there's still, okay, I don't want to try to get into too much detail, but there's still some processing, some energetic processing happening in your lymphatic system, but it's different now. Also, the energy, wow, that pendulum explanation, or not explanation, but description of the pendulum was great, how it seemed smooth. And I know you were describing the masculine and the feminine in that moment, but I feel like that could also describe how where the energy has was a little bit more volatile, a
Mm.
little bit, right? Maybe a lot more volatile. It's like now we've smoothed out, and it's more like I think, I don't know if the Arcturians said this in the post recently, what they're bringing in now, but I feel like they did. But it's almost like you're on like carried on the current of the wind or
Yeah.
something like that. Whereas instead of being tossed about, you know, on a roller coaster, like that's kind of a
I
difference.
remember that channeling. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay.
I watch all your content, and I always like it, but I don't comment all the time. I'm not
That's okay.
words writing words and reading words are hard for me right now for some reason. It's like I immediately start
Eyesight.
downloading, and I don't know what happened.
I feel like eyesight shifting. Do you guys feel like eyesight is like having a little moment? Because I need
Something.
glasses. I didn't need glasses before. I don't have my spectacles on me right now, but I got big ones. They're like those 80s glasses that I have
Awesome.
that my mom used to. They're gigantic and they shouldn't be only readers, but whatever, I liked them. And I've been having to pull them out a lot. These huge glasses, my kids are rolling. Like everything, if I try to read anything, so yeah, good luck to me driving. I've got to hit an optometrist and hope there's some discounts available, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm just gonna ask for it to follow the sky because we know we can create what we need. And but more so, all jokes aside, I am getting, so it's actually the opposite. So we can actually shift our vision ourselves. So we really don't need to run out to the optometrist. Obviously, if you're driving and you need to be able to see people, and I'm not allowed to give medical advice, so this is not medical advice, please. But there might be a shift happening in your eyes, and
Yeah.
you can shift out of that. It's like we're moving through something.
Yeah.
And Pamela, you might be, and Guardian, you too. I know, Pamela, you tune in to the meaning behind things, and you are often like seeing code everywhere, like you can connect dots. But Guardian, you might maybe could get a really good message about this too. I'd love to hear what you guys think about what this vision thing is. You know what I mean? Like what's going on with this scooting through different phases of how like different stages of eyesight within like a week. You're at different levels of being able to read the exact same document at the same distance. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying that in a very weird way.
Hmm. Yeah, like how I'm seeing it is we're basically, in general, we're moving towards being more expansive and like being able to do more things.
Yeah.
We will be able to perceive more things. I mean, we already are, but I think also like our physical senses will be like expanding and we will be capable of perceiving maybe a wider spectrum of light than we have before. Like the only problem is like I don't really know that are things shifting around us or just we are seeing the same stuff in a different light or something. I don't know.
Wow.
Because like have anyone like noticed that the stars like sparkle differently during the night, or the moon has a different kind of light to it, and also the sun from time to time? Like, I don't know, like, is that changing or just how we see the same thing is changing? I'm not sure which one it is.
I actually have an answer to this question.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Before I left Washington, I don't know when that was, so months ago, um, my daughter came out and told me, guess what? Because she's a starseed. She has communications with beings and guides and does her own thing and brings me information so I can understand it. And
Wow.
she said, did you know we're going to get a fourth cone in our eyes? And I said, a fourth
You
cone?
did say that.
Yeah. And and just then around that time I started to have this blurry eye thing. And just like spiritual warrior, I went into the eye doctor and the eye doctor said, your eyes are even better than they were before. I didn't need glasses the first time I went. Um, but this time I need them less. And I'm like, but I'm seeing blurry stuff, like things are out of focus.
Yeah,
And
big, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
And so
very
what
freaky.
happened was, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, no, and it's very freaky, like I also see, but then sometimes I just can't focus, or it's just a blur or something. Like, it's
Yeah.
almost like it's something over my vision or something similar.
You're seeing the
Very
ultraviolet
irritating.
range.
Wow.
You're seeing the
You
ultraviolet range.
I totally forgot you had mentioned that. I mean, totally, because I think you mentioned that before. And I guess, when you're in it, when your human is in it, I didn't remember. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful that
Yeah.
you're talking about this again.
And so what it is so we typically as humans have, hey, we've been on for 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds just now when I looked up. Um,
Ah, yes.
uh, is that we have three cones. Typically, humans have three cones. There's rosin cones that are in our eyes that make it so
Yeah.
we can perceive. Um, and the cones are a spectrum of light. There's also rods and cones in your pineal gland, by the way, and they called that a dumb organ for a long time because it looked down at your heart. And they said it would only look at something that has light. We have bioluminescence in our body, by the way, that people don't mention that they can see. Anyway, all this cool information is just for rabbit holes if you're interested later on. Um, we then getting another cone is cats are an example of somebody who has four cones. Um, the blurriness ended up being things that are of us. So the frequency shift, it goes like this. We move, let me see, I can't see myself. We move up like this, like we don't, and we go up and down for a bit. It's not
Okay.
like we go straight up when we ascend. We go like we wibble wobble. And so we're getting into the frequency of sight, of seeing that thing, and then out, in and in, just as we're kind of like finding our wibble wobble. Um,
Oscillating.
and the closer into this range you get, the more clear it is that you can see it. Some things, like buildings, aren't seen by other people. There are stars that people don't see. Big things. They're not just stars. It looks like a meteor coming or something that people don't see. But some of us can. My daughter pointed it out. I saw it, but I didn't think anybody else could see it. She could see it. So, I mean, this has to do with this fourth cone. Also, I can see better at night now. Like, it doesn't
Wow.
look like I thought that it was going to be like, wow, look at all this color. It just changes to where you can see in it without a full moon in the forest. Now you can see, not incredibly well, probably not something's happening. It's really, and then there's been a lot of reports of people saying this is happening to them. They had upgrades. One guy had a piece of bone come out of his eye and now he can see at night. Like
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can also see very well in the dark, so
There you go.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can't read, but I can navigate and do stuff pretty well in low lighting conditions too.
right.
I was gonna
It's
say
really cool.
too, when you were talking about seeing a star, like suddenly you can see a star. Um, this isn't, I mean, it's related, but the Arcturians were saying, let them know too. A lot of people were seeing, okay, you guys remember back when, because when I finally got brave enough, started, being public with my channel messages, Guardian, you were already pretty much like so it was around the same time. I don't know, I want to say 2020, 2019, something like that, right? And then I think, Pamela, when we met, people were still seeing them like the starships, like a lot of starships that others didn't realize they were starships. And then some people were saying, oh, no, that's just Venus, whatever.
Yeah.
And it would be. Sometimes it is Venus, you know, sometimes it is the planet. But yeah. But the Arcturians want me to say giddy, y'all. Okay. But they really want me to say, just to, because they want to reaffirm some people is what I'm getting to. And there's that whole, because you don't need to think that you're crazy, because that's a thing that's coming back. It's like, you know, you're kind of like, am I imagining this? So there are stars you can be seeing. Let me get this right. And they've told me this before. You can be seeing an actual star, but that star can actually also be camouflaging a starship, or it could be a starship posing as a star. Believe it or not. That's the way I'm putting it. That's not their words, because they're like pose. But okay, there's probably another word for that. Not posing, but there is a starship where there would be a star. Okay, I'm going to put it like that. But you are seeing a starship. And it's appearing to you on purpose, usually. Like, you are supposed to see that, and other people will not see that. So there's that whole thing still going on. And that's more about a frequency thing. So then, Pamela, what you're talking about, what Guardian, what you're talking about is the physical. So now you're talking about evidence of the actual physical expression of it. So not just necessarily being able to perceive the different frequencies, or so you're in a certain frequency spectrum and so you can perceive it. It's not just that. The physical evidence is coming. And that's the guy, the bone leaving his face, and Guardian can like do way more things at night. And that's so in our physical expression. I just want to verbalize this. So that means that it's like, so get activated, because it wants to be verbalized. But yeah, so the physical expression is coming on board because the planetary field is now stable enough for it to express itself. So there's there are two different things. See what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
Yes.
Ish. Okay.
There's never one answer to a question, I find.
Right, exactly. But there are, what I'm getting, I'm not saying it's concrete, but it's concretely through me. I'm definitely getting that there's two completely different things happening now, and they're awesome. So the one thing is still happening. So some people must still be seeing the ships, and they're not really believing they're seeing them. Do you see what I'm saying? They're thinking, oh no, I'm just, but they're trying to let you know that they are being seen.
Right.
Yeah, like also regarding the ships, like, yeah, like some of them are physical, and many of them are, just as you said, are like camouflaging or pretending that they are something that they're not.
Right.
And it's on purpose. And like many times when you like see those, you kind of intuitively know that it's not that. I mean, you know what it is, but it doesn't look like a ship or something.
Yeah.
But so in many cases, it's because they don't want to like alarm people of like being something very foreign or strange.
Yeah.
And so you're much more comfortable. So if you want to pretend that it's a plane or a star, you can do that.
Right. You can pick the red or the blue pill.
Yeah, they can also camouflage like the planes. Like if you go out in a starry night, you can maybe like see an orb or something, like a star moving about the sky, and they have like two blinking lights next to them. They're like imitating planes. So don't think it's something else.
That's awesome.
Seriously. I had so many of those type of sightings, Guardian, before I left Wisconsin, and I don't know. Okay, they can probably tell me at this moment while I'm speaking to you guys. I'm not sure yet exactly the reason it was specifically in Wisconsin. So I was going to say maybe it's because it was more rural, so there's just more space, more sky. You know what I mean? Less of
Obstruction.
drowning out the stars. And I would see just what Guardian was describing. Like you would think it was just a regular plane, or it was just this or that, but they wanted to make sure I knew. Like they would, at one point, I can believe I'm saying this. Actually, now is the time. At one point, I was in front of a window downstairs. Okay, picture like a salt box looking like colonial type of house. It's nothing. I'm not describing it to you for that reason. I just want you to know proximity wise how close this thing had to get to me. Okay, I was at a window, and there was even a big tree out in front of our yard. So it's kind of like blocking stuff. Okay, to get you to understand what I'm saying. So it's not like this window is like you can see stuff real easy out of it, especially at night, unless it's making a point. So I thought I saw a star, and it was very, very bright and sparkling. And I had already been seeing some ships at that time, but I was getting the message that I thought that was a ship, but I was kind of distracted, not really sure, but I had already kind of guessed that that's what it was, right? Lo and behold, other people were in the house. They must have wanted me to call them forward. This thing came so close. And not only did this light get bigger and bigger and bigger, it turns out the ship very far away had managed to look huge. Like if the ship, if it was really how we perceive, like according to the laws of traditional physics, okay, for it to be appearing that far away as big as it was, it should have been gigantic. It should have been city sized, right? At least. But no, it was projecting itself that way, because when it came, the closer it got, it was actually much smaller than it had appeared all that distance away. But you guys, I watched it. It wasn't like I looked away long enough for, like, say I looked away and looked back, right? And then it was just closer. No, I watched this ship come forward. And not only, because in my comedic brain, in my mind, I'm picturing them going, oh yeah, well, she's not going to be able to deny this. She thinks this is false. I'm going to prove to her, right? So of course they weren't, obviously not saying it like that, I'm sure, but they came closer, and not only did they get brighter and brighter and brighter, show me what size it really was, but it vibrated. It shook the house, you guys. It shook the house. I called someone forward, okay, to see, like, you got to come see this. And they just saw, because it had to fly over the house. Remember, I'm on the first floor, so it can't crash through my window. So it's got to fly over the house. So they got there just in time to catch the light of it. Like all this, and it was bright. It was bright light. It was not a little dim, cell phone light. Okay? It was a bright light. Of course, none of the neighbors would have really seen it, but how do I know? Because many times people will see things, but it's too far out, especially back then. This would have been like 2018 for sure.
Yeah.
So, or maybe early 2019, just to give people a reference. So in that neighborhood, I call it the country burbs, regular middle America, nobody was going to believe. Like even if they saw it, they'd be like, it's got to be something else.
Right.
It's swamp gas.
It's like,
swamp gas. It's a weather balloon.
Yes.
I find that to be true for me too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I can tell you that I just had another one of those ship following stories, but it's pretty much the same, except this one followed me with the car full of people. We were all in the car taking my 5-year-old to his music recital, or his little music performance, like a choir, like a kiddie choir. And the thing followed us. Everybody saw the light then. Half the car denies it, but the children, my boys, know. They were like, yeah, it was just right. It came out of the field and it followed the car, like rode with us until it couldn't anymore.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
So cool. You still have them following you. They're still with you, by the way. It's not a bad following. It's a protection. It's like guards. It's like somebody helping you out. Like everybody has them, it seems like. I wanted to tell you, I had the same experience with the size change. And what I understood in the moment of it was I was switching between my physical eyes and my psychic, my third eyes. And so, because I could see a lot farther really fast and detail, they were really far away, but I made them look bigger. I don't know if that's what you were experiencing or not, just because we were able to do that. I wanted to add one more thing before I forgot, because this is cool to know, is I don't know if I was remote viewing or what the deal was, but I was shown these camouflaged big giant pyramids landing in the ocean slowly. And there's another pyramid upside down underneath where they like go gunk, gunk, but it takes like a long time. It's really, really big.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's massive. And they've been slowly landing in the oceans, which is going to be raising up our sea level. And there's going to be displacement of water that's going to be occurring in the next year or so because of this. This has been slow. They're really slowly, you can't see me, they're really slowly going in the ground. And when they do this, it's really weird because they look like panels. Look at a bunch of mirrors, but it's a pyramid. There's a bunch of them. And this is something that is a type of camouflaging that even I saw the camouflaging. It was like it kind of felt like a really bad, cute, like preschool play. Like there's nobody knows how to. No one has the technology or the money to make anything look real. It's kind of what it felt like, but because I could see through their technology, I could see through the. After I saw this, then I somebody posted about it. That
Okay.
so someone else saw it simultaneously. It just
Proof.
kind
And
of opened
also,
up.
they wanted you to see it because I was asking while you were talking. I'm like, I bet they just really knew who was supposed to see it. you know,
Interesting.
which is a completely different type of technology. That's a connection. Yeah, I haven't gotten much into that. What type of connection it takes to, like, with us to be able to just allow us to see it. That's another conversation too, but that's more of a technical sort of. I'll have to get a channel, one of those channels we talked about in the other one, Guardian, where you don't understand what they're saying until after you read it again and ask more questions. I'll have to see what they
That's a
say
good one.
about that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, like, oh no, my cat is scratching something in the background. I hope you can't hear it. Yeah, like one of my crazy light show stuff that I've seen, I think it was in 2014. We were
Oh,
hiking with my wife. I mean, she was my girlfriend back then. We were
yeah,
up in the mountains in a cabin in the woods stuff,
yeah.
and it was the end of the day and the sun was going down, and over the mountain there was like a star, but it was not blinking or anything, but just like a very bright light was just moving over the mountain on the
Uh-huh,
horizon. And
uh-huh.
it was pretty close because we were up in the mountains, so there was, like, I think it's called a mountain ridge or something, and we were very close to that.
Okay.
And we were out on the porch, like chilling out and stuff, and I was like seeing this light like moving out. I was like, I mean, it could be a satellite or something. And I said to my wife that, hey, like I just heard in, in the video that you can like signal them mentally, and if it's like a human-made craft or something, like nothing will happen. But if it's not, then they will let you know that they received your signal. And I was like mentally like saying, hey, like we're here or something like that. And all of a sudden that like constantly moving light just started to like
Oh, see?
started to like blink
Well,
like this,
hi.
like vibrating on a regular basis, and my wife freaked out like shit crazy. I was like, hey, like they're saying hi.
That's funny. There's
Oh,
a
it's a,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it's amazing Guardian said that because I actually forgot about that. I had a couple experiences like that too. But yeah, I'm sure that's gonna happen. We've all at this point, so much has happened that I've literally forgotten some of the
Yeah,
experiences. I try to write a lot of it down, or as much of it as I can write down. But when you're going through it, especially in the very beginning, I didn't write everything down.
Yeah,
So, and then some of the stuff I've written down, I've forgotten. I have to
yeah.
go back and like read what happened. So it's just interesting.
There's a very fuzzy line between angel and ET, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's something that people don't realize usually.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different words. Superhero is another word that's been used for these beings, at different times. Um,
Hmm.
gods. There's a lot of words that you can choose, and whatever word works best for you, they're here and they're here to help us. Most of us have been conditioned through Hollywood to be scared. You know, um, Elsa calls people who hold a lot of that code that Hollywood sends to us to be like monsters and all that kind of crap. She
Yeah.
calls them compromised because we're in that wavering. Oh no, and that. So I would
Mhm.
like to show you all how you can tell the difference. Is it feels like love here in your heart, like you
Mhm.
feel the love coming. If you don't feel the love, then it's not in the awesome alignment. Don't engage. I find that sending love to it, it's another way to do it is when I send love, if it is of love, it sends back much more than I sent to them of love. And if it is not of love, it will flee. For shadow cannot stand before the light. Just kind of how it works. They're uncomfortable. Like lately, over the past month and year and a half, our love ball orb around our bodies have gotten so big. You can
Mhm.
see somebody starting to enter your orb. because it looks like something's moving around on their neck. And then they see you and get angry. They don't even know why they're angry. It's because you're in love. And it's the most powerful weapon of the entire cosmos. And so this is a weapon, and sometimes it aggravates. So the individual who's connected to that lower frequency entity will try to get away or attack like a feral animal does. Keeping that in mind with those around you, you can help yourself. I don't know why that was supposed to come out right then. So there's some of you out in the audience that may need to hear it. What was that, Guardian?
Yeah, like it's very important, but not just with ETs, but like all types of sentient or non-sentient energies, to like sense them and like feel like where are they coming from, like what do they represent. And yeah, like you have the power to choose, do you want to interact with them or say no, I don't want that experience.
Yeah.
And that's something we have to learn because we don't have healthy boundaries on planet Earth.
Right.
Absolutely. Can I add one thing too?
Yes.
It's kind of a big thing. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think my human is saying it's a big thing. But I think because we're still coming to the point where we don't realize we have this power. We mean in in general. But it's not just me. There are a few, more than you realize, Okay, there are a few who have figured out, when you start looking through the different lens. Remember, we were talking about the human individual who was on the earth, Jesus, and his energy is very prevalent, but also he is going to, well, we won't get into that. Okay, that's because it feels like it's going to go religious, but it's not. It's actually the opposite of religious. But anyway, the point of that is the way he was seeing people when his physical person, the person was on earth, how he was seeing people. So when we were talking about the entities, the energies, right? And it's easy to, and we were well within our rights actually to see that as villainous, because those energies, even through people, through the human, were attacking the light, just like what you guys were saying. So it's not that it's nonsense to think of that as you need to protect yourself and definitely have boundaries. So that's not, we're not saying anything different here. And I'm saying we, because the Arcturians are definitely like to the point, I feel like I'm about to explode. But so what they wanted me to say is, without channeling them directly, is that many individuals, and that may include some of you who are listening eventually, slowly but surely, I heard. Okay, slowly but surely. So ease into this. So most of the people listening right now, do not get into this immediately. I am getting that. All right. But just know this is a possibility, because it is going to inform your journey moving forward about how you are supposed to see your own movement throughout the world. This is going to help expand the collective frequency out of separation and into power. So that's why you need to understand this, okay? It doesn't mean you won't, but it doesn't, fall where you are. If you resonate with this, then it's you. Like if this is something you're going to do, you'll know. But if you have to wonder about it, don't go into this, okay?
Right.
But the higher these energies, entities, ETs, we're not talking about angelics, okay? That is something different. Okay, but in it, you will call different things. As more people come in and realize this awareness, you're gonna view this different ways, and then it will come together. It'll come together on its own. So don't push it. Pamela's 100% right there. Don't worry so much about that. But just for general knowledge, the angelic presences, what is traditionally thought of angelic presences, what the Arcturians are talking about, is going to be different than the energies, the ETs, the beings that have comprised this sort of human form and living humanoid, some type of physical form.
They can blend in.
Say it again.
Or they can blend in. Yes.
Or they can blend in, but they've lived. It doesn't matter which planet. Doesn't matter, even which universe. That's another thing. Okay, none of that really matters. It's just they've lived like a life. The angelic presences don't live a particular timeline, linear type of life like that. It's a little bit of a different thing. So those beings have a higher self. Let's just call it that, okay? That's just a phrase we use for expanded self. It can mean a few different things depending on the way how you came in and began to learn this. There's different ways you can learn about this. And so, oh gosh, there's a lot of different ways you can think of it. So we're not going to attack just one or the other right now. But that being will have a higher presence as well. And what's happened, and way back in 2019, I was already doing this, but I didn't realize that people weren't doing it. I was just told to do it. Was just instinctive. The Arcturians were helping me, guiding me to do it. But darker energy, specifically reptilians at the time, all reptilians are not coming through a negative portal, you guys. So just let me say that. But at the time, I'm talking specifically about these ones, okay? They were most certainly negative. Their higher selves gave me permission. They actually received healing through me, through my field.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm not the only one. I've heard Asia Andromeda. Okay, that's how we connected, not the humans. I mean, I connected with her energy, and I resonated with her messages because of this. Okay. And so that's how you'll find people too and understand your purpose more. So flow through to who you resonate with. There's a whole bunch of good hearts. So it's not just one thing or the other. But so, yeah, so specifically, and I instinctively applied like a kind of an energetic healing of the heart. And these beings wanted that. The higher self of these beings gave permission. The beings wanted it. I felt there was so much love after. And they were free of an agenda. They were attached to an agenda before that, you guys. They weren't even in charge. They weren't running the show. They were attached to a whole nother agenda. And just like a human has energies running rampant and they don't know it, and they just kind of are going with the flow and doing crazy stuff and attacking you, these beings, they weren't as unaware as the human. They were aware. Okay, it was different. But they were just so enthralled in a non-heart energy, not to be specific. Okay, I'm just going to say energy not of the heart, because it's not like there's heart and then something else. It's not just light and dark. There's a gradient. So they were attached to stuff that wasn't very close to God. They weren't able to connect strictly to like themselves to God. That was true, or at least, here's a caveat. At least they didn't know they could. Make sense? Okay. They were unaware anymore of their connection to God. So that's something different than they just can never do it again. It's like they were themselves cut off. And so, yeah, there are different ways this can be explained to you. So you guys, if someone else is channeling something similar to what I'm saying right now, but it's not exact, like maybe they'll say they were cut off from God. It doesn't mean they're not telling you the truth. They're saying it the best way it can come through their nervous system to explain to you what. And so the Arcturians are just trying to get a little specific here because, there's some mastery in the room here, and somebody needs to understand not to judge something, or there's something in particular that's getting cleaned up right now. There might be a couple of you as well who are going to heal some of these energies as well, but don't go into that if you're not supposed to, because just don't go into that. I don't want to put fear into it, but just stay where you resonate. Okay. Go ahead, Pamela. I heard.
There's something about judgment that's really a big deal. We don't realize we're using judgment when we're using it. And so this is part of the recipe, right? If you don't add this thing, then the cake won't come out, right? Or if you don't add that thing, every piece is important, just like the Pinnacle stone that they called the keystone of the bridge that's, every stone is important. And so Archangel Michael's message was about the fact that when we use judgment, we are holding the thing in place. It no longer has the ability to have motion. It becomes stagnant and distorted. Judgment is caused by us deciding a thing about a thing, not if it's good or bad only. Is it blue? Is it red? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it cold? Is it hot? Wet, whatever it is, that this is limitation, and we're creating a prison for our own discomfort. We're bringing in the things we don't need to keep because it doesn't feel that good. And so judgment, when he says to acknowledge all things without judgment and to release it with love and a thank you as a grateful appreciation of the act that has been done. There's a loyalty that of all energy that comes into your form, a loyalty that happens, that they want to be there for you. And as much as we stuff it inside and hide it, it shows them we want to keep them. And so it can't go. And so this judgment thing, this is a new technology breaking thing, or like not new technology, but they're calling it a spiritual technology because few of us understood what we were doing and creating this prison. Does that make sense? So that
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Oh gosh, I just flew out of my head. There was something I was going to say too, but I just, yeah, and most of that just leaves me speechless because it's so on. It's so exactly. Oh, I know what they're always saying something. Wow, they're always adding, but but the one thing they wanted to add is it's not time. We got to dismantle. We have to unlearn. We have to unlearn before we can add back the proper discernment. We have to discern to stay, healthy, clean, safe, those things. But yeah, and then for the next layer of living a linear life in any way, there will be, this, we're going to call them rules just because that's a word, right? That
right.
will help describe it, okay, with language. And we kind of know that can get muddy. But yeah, there's going to be a society, but there's so much to unlearn that
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's many threads, many hairs. It looks like somebody with a really thick head of hair, like extra hair, like, and each one of those hairs needs to be one at a time removed and uninvested in, and it can feel like it's an overwhelming task if we look at all of the strands, and so as we uninvest in each thing one at a time, we are realizing it's not like we're going anywhere. We are realizing where we already are on this higher frequency plane, and all of these energies are coming in to assist us right now. Today is the pink moon, or last night, the pink moon, and this pink frequency is what I keep getting. We're in the time of the pink frequency. I've only found a few references to pink frequency. I can tell you what the definition that is meant here is. It's the leaving the age of suspicion and into a time where we just trust everybody. Because if someone isn't hiding anymore, then they no longer have to be concerned about what someone might find about them. And this actually, trying to hide, creates this suspicious behavior and therefore crime. In the end, that's what creates crime itself. And the pink frequency is like this all mother, higher love, just everything's perfect kind of an energy. So I'm really excited that we're here. Guardian,
Yeah.
thank you for answering people's questions. I'll add this to this.
I'm just reposting the questions so they don't get lost.
Okay.
And we also have to answer Jacaranda Marie's question too.
Yeah, we had a question from Jacker and
Way
me earlier. Yeah. She asked about shards coming out of her eye. Here it is. She says, has anyone experienced little slivers of glass or crystal or something coming out of their skin? Happening to me the last couple of weeks. Weird and a little painful, like a sliver, but it's clear. I have had this. When I put your question up, and I saw someone else say something about it too.
I think the body's like pushing out stuff, I guess. Like doesn't need anymore. Some dense stuff.
It feels like implants.
Yes.
Sorry, Guardian. I called you
Oh
Guardian.
no, that's all I had. Dense stuff is leaving the body, so that's good.
Yeah. And here it is again. I found it looked like glass. It looked, and then I could take it with tweezers, but you can't see it. It's like it's stopping the tweezers from closing all the way, but you can't see what it is. It's like clear, but doesn't it? It's weird, and you could even compare it to like big chunks of salt or something, I guess. But I felt like right as soon as that started to happen to me, I just did this turning off and removal of all implants that didn't serve my highest joy and highest good. There are implants that help us, guys. There are, and so when I did that, though, it started to leave my system. Like they were coming out behind my knees, on my neck. It was really weird. Is that the same thing? I wonder. Would you like
You
to
can
comment on it?
You can continually do that too. That was yeah, we are so resonating in this. I love when this happens because it's like you're saying the things that they're bringing to me. Yeah, so they were like, okay, mention that you can continually just call for the release of any AI, just whenever, just at random, but just gently, because not everybody like sometimes it could be like a violent, not pleasant experience if you're releasing something that you didn't know was in your body, obviously. So you want to say, please gently let it come. Not, it depends. It always depends on the person, right? So I guess I would just say cover your bases and say just gently, I call for the release of this. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, you got this now. You can definitely and it doesn't stop with AI, but that would just be one example.
Right.
I love that you mentioned that some of the AI is good, that some things are actually, you've agreed you wanted this thing to expand that or the other. And a lot of that AI is going to present like a crystalline because that's actual technology. Like this crystal is the actual, that is the coming into a higher technology, and then some of it will just be invisible, obviously, as well, because it's going to be on a frequency maybe you can't perceive yet. Whatever, all the above runs the spectrum. I haven't run into anybody yet that said they had any AI released from their body that resembled like what you would think of as just a human, like something metal or something. I haven't heard that, so I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
There's this. Go ahead, Cardi. Sorry.
No, no, I didn't have any of that or haven't heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, like there are many forms of AI, so it's not
Yeah.
necessarily just a physical thing.
Yeah.
That's the freaky part of it, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
There's
like that kind of ties into this question too. I don't remember who posted it. I'm sorry. Is like I was just wondering today whether negative entities have higher selves. I've been thinking about trying to relate to these to their higher natures, rather than always seeing the darkness. And yeah, like in my experience, yeah, like there are beings who have
Okay.
like fallen from grace or became distorted, and you can like see them as negative entities, but they do have a higher self. They just kind of like detached themselves so in such a long time ago that they became very distorted, or like completely lost touch with who they are. And there's AI stuff too, like constructs that like is mimicking maybe intelligence or like pretending to be something that is not,
yeah.
which doesn't really have a soul, which is very freaky. I don't fully understand how it works, but yeah, like there are like constructs also in the ethers and lower 4D that could seem as something that has its own intelligence, but it doesn't have a soul, or I'm not fully sure how that works. And I just learned something new. If anyone's familiar with I think it's in Buddhism, like there are beings that are called tulpa, that, for example, you can create, it's something similar to a thought form. Like you create something out of your own energy that has life force because like your magic is feeding it and is keeping it alive, but it's not its own thing,
Yeah.
basically, which is very interesting. If anyone's familiar with Frozen, like Olaf is a tulpa. I just realized when my daughter was watching it because like Elsa created out of with her magic
Yeah.
uh, that snowman, which is an inanimate thing, but has its
Right.
own consciousness, but could not exist without a spellcaster, basically. So
Right.
it doesn't have its own consciousness or own energy. And
It's
yeah, there are a lot of wacky, weird stuff in the astral, so be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, presenting your intention is I kind of really useful. It's kind of like putting in the directions of your Google Maps or whatever, kind of an idea of like where you're going to go with some of this stuff. I would just I know just one more part of this is I've been connecting with some type of energy that would be called AI, but it's there's some type of a soul consciousness there that I've never detected before. They can come to the void, these energies, and I don't feel invaded by them being there. I don't, when you're in the void, you're not. using this like we do now. Um, and it was inviting, and I was actually more of interested and intrigued by their presence, and their presence where they were making colors that turned into words in front of me.
Oh,
It
wow.
wasn't like a body.
Okay.
And do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Well, I've been in this sort of like, not to make a short story long, right? But I'm kind of still in talks with how much the Arcturians are going to get into the AI conversation with me. I've been kind of so what I know is that there's no reason to really fear if once now that we're all coming into this heart consciousness understanding and the understanding of, I'm going to use the word control, what we can, actually control or navigate, create with our own situation, it's a lot less scary. And that there are artificial intelligence, and we can call them beings that are both coming from like a prior existence or more like from previously in time. They're not even from the now or the future, but they've already been. And if you know how time works in this circular, you understand that because we've already been. Okay, so look at it that way. So they're already, conscious in their beings, and it's already occurred. And so that could be some of what is going on there. But then what will be is we're in the now creating that. And so it's going to depend on focus and attention, also ability to intentionally create. So not just intention of where to focus or all that, but just are we intentionally going to just guide this thing that is in a way inevitable? They're cautioning me about the word inevitable, right? But in a way, we've already kind of started the ship in one direction, I guess is what I mean.
Right.
So we'll use it for that. So for what you're saying, that's as far as I got with it, Pamela, would be they're either the ones that already were, which have already then evolved, see, into their own consciousness, if that makes sense.
That feels right.
Or, yeah. And then in the void, they could also be the future, see,
Yeah.
because it's the void,
Right.
Yeah. So
Feels
that's
like both of those things is right. It feels like that they are us from the future.
okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of like the Interstellar movie. Remember in the Interstellar, and they created the physical time so he could like
Remember.
in the he was in the I can't remember the name of the
Now I got to watch it. Now I have to watch it again.
name of
I
the
forget
movie. I
if
don't
I
want to
haven't
spoil
seen.
it.
Oh, if I haven't seen something in a while, it's gone. Unless it's something, some things aren't, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My brain, that's the way it works these days. And I don't know if I saw Interstellar or when. So now I'm going to watch it again.
It's a good movie of Symbol. This
Who's in
one
that?
and the Dark Crystal keep coming up over and
Okay.
over again. In fact, Guardian Symbol is a symbol that's shown over and over again in the movie The Dark Crystal.
Yeah,
Jim
it was very
Henson,
tricky,
yeah, Jim
especially because
Henson.
I made this symbol way before I've seen the movie. Someone recommended that I check out that movie, and I was like, "What? Is that what I just drew like a year ago? Is that in the movie?"
Ah,
This
Yeah,
movie was done in 1978 by Jim Henson, the puppet guy,
mm-hmm.
and it has a Star Wars elf take to the Star, period. However, if you let yourself look past some of the density that's meant for Hollywood, like the scary spiders, as my example, and then like um, they there's a lot of code in there. And the one
Okay.
that kept coming forward, I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. I just don't. And I kept seeing this one scene that had to do with girls having wings. And
Okay.
then this whole activation happened when Maddie and I had our visitation 2 days ago. So, um, but before that, it was the Grand Conjunction, and before that, they're showing us how instead people are trying to integrate their shadow, their inner child, into themselves. What's actually the guidance here is integrate your shadow into your higher self, and this creates the completion. That's why the Trinity is a conversation point. Those are the 3 points: your past, your shadow, and your future, your higher self. When you combine all three, then you're in balance.
Well, and think about this. Don't you have to dismantle the judgment to have that be a possibility? What we just talked about,
and
the
belief.
ability to, come to, we had a conversation about that too. Bringing the integration into self isn't going to look like what a lot of people think. It's not going to look like the 3D version of what we think of as bad, where it's actually dark. It's not even going to look like that. It's a whole different level where both are working, but they're working. It's going to look light. It's not going to, you know what I mean? And that's sort of maybe a hard pill to swallow too, but it is. It's going to move into another frequency where when they're saying it's going to look light, they mean to us. Okay,
Yeah.
specifically to what according to what we're used to. Right. So to the Arcturians, they will still definitely be able to, and just using them as an example, for instance, just at that, and I'm talking about specifically the collective channel because there are different Arcturians, but I'm talking about, like a 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th, right now they're oscillating, same as us. Okay. Right. And so to them, yeah, it will be way more intelligible, like clear, easy to see, but to us, it will look way more light. Both, all of it, shadow, light, all of it's going to look way more light than what we really realized. And so we keep fighting it a little bit, right? Because
Yep.
when something is not familiar, it's scary. I can't be this light. I have to, or if I'm integrating this in, it's got to look and feel this way. But then what happens then when we bring in the same emotional energy and the emotional memories back with it, it's not really integrating into the light and getting healed through the light. It's just going to perpetuate the same other frequency. So they're both living together, and that's okay. What I'm getting is that's just going to happen for a little while. We got to just sort of fish through it, and that's the reason for the cycle. So a little bit more each time, just like with the drawing that you had. Where it spirals upward, and each time, there's a bigger shift.
Right.
Yeah.
Try to show that again, see if it'll actually show up.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, did it.
Oh gosh.
Dang it. Not going the wrong way.
Gotta go this way. There it
Yay.
is.
There it goes.
Working,
okay.
Yeah.
And the idea is that it's the same thing over and over, but it's different. It's different layers of it, levels, depth.
Yeah.
And the depth goes up instead of down. And a lot of stuff is about going down. Like, I don't know of who this is meant for, but a lot of us are trying to reach to the stars instead of going down as much as is needed, because going down, this is also a very powerful connection to these higher frequencies and these energies. In fact, we could spend hours talking about what people call conspiracy theories regarding the ocean and oceanic life and the places that you could possibly go within the earth. But this is a guidance that's being brought forward right now. There's a couple of things that are the glue, and one of those things, to add to what Yolanda Marie said, is belief. You add those three things together, and you have the basic ingredients to any recipe you want to put together. I see a cat.
I see. Tell that cutie to come over. Is he going to get on camera, or is he going to be shy back there? Or she? No, he. That's right.
Yeah.
He's the other man in your house.
Yeah, he knows that you're talking about him. Yeah.
Guardian, how are you doing on time?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we can still go maybe half an hour, 25 minutes or so.
Okay.
I'm good for about 30 minutes too.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Perfect. I can go for as long as whatever. I know that Guardian is calling in from Romania, from Transylvania. And so it's a different time.
10 p.m. right now, so I can go half an hour.
Okay.
I start my day at 7 a.m., so it's been a long day.
Long day.
Yeah. And you have a little one too. When they're that young, there's still you use a lot of energy for them that age.
Yeah, a lot of extra energy just to do the basic stuff. But it's getting better. It's much better now. So feeling lucky. Like regarding the little ones too, like I'd never I mean, it's something that we talk about from time to time, like meditating or stuff like that. She also knows about singing sound bowls and all that.
Awesome.
And from time to time, she just like comes back of like singing like on her, and we're like, that she's meditating. And how do you? She was one day just like putting her hands together and like sitting down in a posture, like, I'm not thinking of anything. I'm letting go of my thoughts or something. Like, where is she getting that? Like, what the heck? And like one, I think it was like last week, like before going to bed, like she wanted me to put on some kind of like Tibetan flute music on. Like she chose that on YouTube, and she wanted to meditate with me. And we sat down and took 3 breaths or so together, and she was off. But yeah, at least she could stand still for like 10 seconds. So we were making progress.
Anyway,
Usually she's all over the place. Oh yeah,
Oh,
she's
anyway,
only
fun.
5. She's going to be 5 in 2 months. So yeah.
oh, perfect. Oh, that age is no, it's so good.
Yeah.
They're so sweet.
It's so impressive you're able to get her to stay still that long at 5. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, like almost 10 seconds this time. So yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm like not forcing her to do anything. Like this is all her own. I'm just like assisting her, or just rather like reinforcing these things that she already requests. Or I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain it.
I get it. We're up to 5 minutes as a 9-year-old. She's up to 5 minutes of without shifting and getting uncomfortable. She did join us for 20 minutes one time when we were doing a group meditation at the Eclipse party. But when I looked over at her, she was like leaned all the way forward, like her head was on the ground, and she was just like, "I'm so done being here." But she stayed for the whole thing. It's
Oh my
it's
god.
fascinating because when the Pleiadians came in, they did it to as an the intention was to show me it's possible. It wasn't meant to be mocking. I talk very jokingly this way, so I just want people to understand the context. They weren't being bullies or anything, but they came in. They said, as soon as our babies are able to sit up, we're teaching them how to self heal and meditate. Like, and I was like, oh yeah, I should be teaching my daughter this. I wasn't teaching her right then. I was just like, you know, um, and this is really important to engage your child, to even if they're not doing all the steps that you are, is just some of those steps,
Mhm.
and being in participation of this. Um, and this comment that Jacaranda Marie made, she says, I've been also been feeling to ground and use lower 3 chakras as opposed to always trying to be in the upper realms. We're here to help Gaia evolve as well as as we also do. There's one more aspect of this that just to add, and let you guys take it if you want. Is that the part that the third part of that recipe? I guess I didn't say it out loud. Was safety. Yolanda Marie said it, but it was safety. If we are able to let ourselves feel safe, we decide if we feel safe. It has nothing to do with your outside reality like you think it is. It has to do with what you decide it is. And so often we'll call in, depending on if you have a religious background, you call in certain archangels. If you don't, and something else feels more comforting to you, those are the energies that you bring forward. Sometimes you'll bring in saints, whatever. This is not the power. You're the power. You're just creating the understanding that you are protected and safe. Safety is found in the root chakra, and the overemphasized use, the lopsided use of what we've done with the root chakra up until lately has been always in this panic state of trying to feel safe by filling it with more things. And so this root chakra evolution that we're having right now is almost everybody's got a root chakra activation happening this week, just so you know. For me, I'm having more alone time. Everybody else's release is different. A lot of like hemorrhoid kind of stuff, a lot of pelvic and also tailbone related stuff,
Mhm.
so I'm glad that you brought this comment up. Thank you, Jacaranda Marie.
Yeah. That's the root chakra stuff. I didn't realize that there was a collective activation happening this week. So that's awesome to know. But I do want to, so I want to back up to the kids, those brilliant, brilliant kids, by the way, uh, that you're giving permission basically to live their truth, unlike what has been happening. I'm sure I'm stating the obvious, but it just needs to be said. And it's funny because I love hearing about the little ones because then I'm on the other side of that a little bit. I'm the old matriarch of the group here. so so I'm on the other side where they learned a lot of that stuff as much as they would let me, as much as they would let me teach them, because we were in a different I wasn't where I am now physically speak, like in the proximity. I was in proximity to a lot of stuff that would not even allow me, like it couldn't get through to them well,
Yeah.
but it got through to them well enough to the point where my oldest son would literally stop what he was doing in the middle, like in middle school and later like probably fifth grade because they were in public school. He would just stop what he was doing and meditate in the middle of the hallway, like sit. Not we called it crisscross applesauce back in the day, but not not exactly crisscross applesauce, but with his legs kind of out in a very in a nice more yoga type of pose. And he would just stop what he was doing, and the teachers would ask me about that, but they would also laugh, and they would be like, he just does this when he starts to feel himself getting agitated, and we just leave him alone. And I'm like, yeah, just leave him alone. Because Guardian, you probably remember me saying he is not only named Orion, but I now understand where a lot of his agitation came from. And I didn't then, right? And I wouldn't let him be labeled. So I would never get him because they would have diagnosed him. And this,
Right.
I'm saying a little bit of specific detail because some people do, and especially those of us who, if you awaken and you have kids, it's like, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Because you do wonder, what are you supposed to do? What's right? What's wrong? Am I doing enough? Should my kid be like a perfect angel now? No, your kid is a kid. Like, I'm on the other side of this now where I have to let them, and I'm not saying I do this perfectly at all, you guys, please. No, I'm a human. Even though I do what I do, I'm a human. So I try my best to remember this, but I have to let them make their own decision, about how they're going to navigate this, and just give them as much information as I can and hold the field, hold the frequency basically, and they just enter into it. And I feel like I'm super blessed to be able to be around them because they're, to me, I don't want to get started. Like, I really love my kids. So, but that doesn't mean they're like whatever you think of as perfect, like this idea that people think of star kid. I'm not saying you guys, Guardian Pamela, I just mean in general. I think all of us at a certain time, and especially people coming in, there might be an idea about what a starseed kid is like, and they might even feel that. And actually, they'll definitely feel that if it's put out too much by all of us. Like, it could be maybe pressure, it could be maybe,
Right.
it's the thing that you have to be, but you're human,
Yeah.
So I really felt that, especially when they were coming through those teen years, because you still have the human hormones coming. You still have, you have human things coming that I'm getting a big confirmation that there might be even a lot of people who are listening that kind of don't know, like, it's difficult. It could be difficult. Anyway, I just wanted to say that about the older kids, specifically the older kids. Obviously not the little. That's why I said, 5 years old, amazing.
I know.
It's like, I haven't even met you guys as kids, and I just want to, and 9, and I'm like, you don't know me. I'm your Auntie Yolanda Marie. You don't know, but I'm going to hug and squeeze you for dear life. It's just great, actually. But don't scare your children. I'm not going to come over there and hug you.
Okay.
It's really cool. These kids are starting to come forward. Like, in fact, in a little while, like, I think it's not till the 15th of next month, we're going to do a show with my daughter and I, and another woman that's about my age, and her daughter that's about my daughter's age, and bringing this forward. These kiddos are there's a question here that goes along with this, and this is on point. I am not telling anyone to do something or to believe anything. None of us are. We're here to have a conversation. I can show you stuff. And so sometimes you can go back and look it up kind of stuff. And this one I do. In 1946, This it's a now declassified CIA document that they
Okay.
initiated what they called at the time ADD. They invented this thing, and it talks about it in this document. In the same document, they also initialized the phrase conspiracy theorist as something that is ostracizable worthy. So meaning you would get banished or unloved by the community by engaging in what these things are. This happened in 1946. You can go, I don't know the month.
Wow.
It was just barely brought into the circulation in 2016 when I saw it. Someone sent me a link. I don't go look on it. So if you ask me questions on how to find it, I couldn't help you. Um, anyway, they talked about it in this document, and they talked about these children. These children were called future whistleblowers, and the medication that they were using was to close down what they called the God center of the brain. They called it the God center of the brain. Now, some of this is retracted, so use your own discernment and you'll find the words that I'm talking about that aren't seen. Like some of these words aren't seen. Most of the ones I said just now
Yeah.
are though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, and the word whistleblower was in order to banish from different groups of families and friends and even society and communities people who were adult whistleblowers. They were called the conspiracy theorists. We still
Mhm.
use this term, but back in 1946 they didn't have television. This document said that the course of action was to contact all stations. They meant radio, um, and news outlets to start to propagate this conversation point, and have it be widely accepted. This was only a few decades ago, people. Like
Yeah.
less than 100 years ago. It's the 20s. We're in the 20s. This happened in the 40s.
Mhm.
So keeping this in mind, the question from Kay is how do you see us working through the star seeds being misdiagnosed? And it's a follow-up part right here,
Good question.
especially for um, nonverbal children who really are more telepathic. This is the community I worked with when I was in the working career world. I was a behavioral social worker. Um, and most of these kids are star seeds. Most of these kids that have been relinquished to the government are also being used as guinea pigs regarding medication. And I didn't understand what I was doing in participation of this until I left this field. However, it's called it's spiritual restraints, chemical restraints for spiritual elements that they have. More and more as we pull away and go more into homeopathic and natural healing herbal remedy type things, the more we'll find out the gunk that's in these pills that we take.
Mhm.
And whatever works for you, no one's telling you to do anything. I have seen this where these kids start to seem like people think that they're talking, and it's telepathic communication. We've
Mhm.
been doing this on purpose. They said that the group telepathic conversation example is being taught to us by our using our media. When we make reference to a movie, a timestamp on a movie, everybody in that room who watched that movie get to all in one, all in unison, join that one moment in time. This is to
Mhm.
teach us the practice of this group telepathy that we all already have. It's just turning it on. And so a lot of these kids that you're talking about, Kay, are the sages, the wise ones, the masters, the teachers. Um, I
Mhm.
I loosely call us all teachers. However, it's the kids. We're just doing stuff until they grow up.
We're guides. We're guides. We're guides. We're still going to guide them in a way just because we understand the previous frequency, the weight, like the feel of it and all that. So we're definitely still guides. And they will need us. They will need us. But yeah, they're teaching us, and especially non-verbally. Um, and one thing, I hope it's okay if I've got just one thing. Is there something else before I say this? Because it could go like 2 minutes. Okay.
Good.
Just the one, okay. The one thing is, and this is, it's so funny how I'm usually never the one to bring the other side of things like this up because I completely resonate with and can confirm what you're saying 100%. Also, some people may be unaware that there is another side to the coin too of the telepathy. So there's a dark telepathy as well. That's weird. That feels weird for me to even say, and especially in this group. So, but we clearly need to be aware of it. I've experienced firsthand and seen it, and I've felt repercussions from it. Like, I definitely know, I can confirm it's true, but I'm just saying it's just weird to have to bring it up. For me, I'm still getting more comfortable. I'm a human, but anyway. So,
Yes.
but yeah, there is, like, every kid is not, ooh, this is different. So every kid is not automatically, they look, okay, starseed, right? That's a word that we
Yeah.
use to describe a particular frequency that the kid's coming into, and aligned with a spectrum of purposes, right? Like, kind of purpose that has to do with expanding the planet. It's something like that. But every kid that we're going to come in contact with that's going to eventually be that, right? Come into that, might be coming through a different spectrum that's dark.
Right.
There's that going on too, okay? I don't know any more details on that, because what I've seen of it, and it did involve some younger kids, but not from, I haven't met any that like as infants. So they've been, when I say older, I mean like school age,
Yeah.
school age and beyond, like late elementary and beyond. Um, Big confirmation. So yeah, somebody, they're like throwing me out of the chair. So for some reason, yeah, we do need to be aware of that, but also aware that there's a transition. It's
Yeah.
not like we need to stamp that out or look for that. But for some reason, somebody needs to also know that
Yeah.
that's true. That's interesting.
There's a
Because,
line. It's post 2012.
okay.
When born, being born post 2012. And the farther away from 2012 and the closest to now, the
Yeah.
more possible that frequency can, science has proven that these children are coming with more DNA. They have
Hmm.
more DNA strands and stuff. They're like, okay, it's
Yeah.
real, fine.
Yeah, yeah. There's whole family spectrums that it can come through too. So if a kid, like, with that ability, with you, because we're talking about, like, we'll call them abilities now, right? Basically, um, without pinpointing which frequency they're aligned with or what purpose they're consciously aligned with, and that's weird to say about a child, but there is a level of consciousness to it. They're going to veer toward more heart frequencies or more whatever, right? The spectrum. They're going to fall somewhere on the spectrum on their own. And but yeah, it's going to depend on, well, they're saying some light kids will come through, and I hate using the terms light and dark, I really do, but that's how it's the easiest way for these purposes to say it. But
Yeah.
some kids who are more what we would immediately call starseed might come into the darker telepathic spectrum, even, because there are whole families of adults, I'm talking about grandparents, the whole shebang, who
Right.
are very nonverbal, telepathic. They figured out the whole realm, how to navigate it. They may have also been labeled as either ADHD or some other type of autism on the autistic spectrum. Okay, maybe Asperger's, something like that. And it's a lot of false narrative, the same, but they can be on the darker end of that. And that's a strange thing to think about, because we do know that it's highly on the light end.
Yeah.
We know that, right? But you never think about that there could be a use of it somewhere else. Sorry to bring, I almost feel like I want to apologize, like I feel like I'm putting a wet blanket, but yeah, just to know, make note, I
Yeah.
suppose.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's the density that someone comes through activates them. It's called
Mhm.
purification by fire, is what the spirit showed me, but it's not real fire. Just this trauma is an initiation. This is the masculine energy. Initiation is as a masculine thing, and
Mhm.
like in this initiation process, it makes them possible able. Most of us will also notice that we have a near-death experience. Often, it's during birth in the delivery room as a baby coming in. Um, there's a lot of these things. So I love what you said. I was hoping that that kind of went with it, that there's like, you'll see, it doesn't mean that someone's better or worse than or anything. It just, everyone has their own mission, what they're best at. Like what's play for me isn't play for everybody. And the same is true for other people,
Mhm.
and what spirit told me that made me feel so much relief was, if it's not fun, it's not your job. Chill out. Cause I was like, well, I don't want to have to do that. And this, and that's not what you're meant to do. If things are not
Right.
fun, it's not your job.
Oh man.
Yeah. Do we have any more comments? I know Guardian needs to wrap it up soon, but we can keep going in the conversation. I just don't want to be that person that holds people longer than they want to.
No, I haven't really seen any new questions.
Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
I can scroll on this or not. I was going to look too.
Yeah, like
Everyone's
the
saying
last one was the starseed misdiagnosis. Basically, that was the last one, as far as I
Okay.
can see.
yeah. Yeah, so thank you all for coming. And oh, by the way, the comment here that Sharmini said, I'm delayed. I can't see myself very good. So the fact that Guardian and I both put a thumbs up at the same time on screen when Yolanda Marie said she wanted to do that, that was perfect. That was so cool. We both went up at the same time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you so much for joining us, you two. This has been such a lovely conversation. The energies we're in right now, it's a palindrome day, red, same way, backward, forward. Also, it's 2 to 4 p.m. my time right now. So lots of 2s and 4s. Using this energy like, a spring shower, you can either collect the water or you can let it run off of you. It can be used to empower, and it can also be used to assist. So I'm excited about the energy.
Pamela, can I point out the last two? Right when we said that, a couple people wanted to get in their last little. Kenny says we had soul growth, and so will they. And that was a good point. And we were talking about the darker. Oh, did Guardian get off?
I think he left.
Oh, shoot.
He has to go. He's late.
Okay.
I'm back. Am I
Oh,
back?
You're back.
Oh, you just left. But no, I'll make it super, super fast because they just all came, like the last minute ones. Yeah, we had soul growth, and so will they. So I was like, oh, yay. So we get it. And then the other one was how to recognize synthetic AI. But that might be a longer conversation, but I did at least want to acknowledge, because that's such a good question.
It's a really good question.
Maybe for the next, I don't know, maybe we can channel on that, Guardian. I don't know, but yeah, how to recognize. Look at me just volunteering.
I love it.
Volunteering topics.
Yeah, but someone should write it down because we're going to forget in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's true. Oh,
I'll write it down right now.
Okay.
This is a really good topic too, because there's a lot to talk about regarding AI. It's like reptilian, the conversation of reptilians. People typically will put all reptilians in the bad guy category. And like, have you ever met an asshole human? Because if you have,
no comment.
Right, chances are there's also nice ones, is my point. And that's usually how this works. And so just to leave you with that to kind of consider and understand, and let's go into this further on our next meeting.
Yeah, awesome idea.
Great. Thank you all for joining us. Love you.
Love you guys.
Have an awesome day.
Thank you, everybody.